I had a peaceful breakup with the princess of the Manhattan elite circle, Amelia Sterling. She had reunited with her long-lost first love, Patrick. As her stand-in for 4 years, I tearfully accepted a $40 million breakup check and quietly stepped aside, keeping my dignity intact. Right? Then why, shortly after our breakup, did she suddenly track me down, threatening to destroy me? I swear, I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was go on a blind date and find a new partner. Was that really such a big deal? Wait, Vincent, you're actually going on a blind date? Inside a high-end steakhouse in downtown Manhattan, my date hadn't arrived yet. Sitting across from me was the restaurant owner and my good friend Justin. He looked at me in complete surprise. "Who are you meeting?" "The granddaughter of my grandfather's old friend." I shrugged, swirling the ice in my whiskey glass and speaking casually. "The old man specifically asked me to meet her before he passed away, just to see if we're compatible." Justin nodded, hesitated for a few seconds, and couldn't resist lowering his voice to ask, "What about Amelia? You cared about her so much. 4 years of a relationship, and you're really okay with ending it so lightly?" "Lightly. A good word, but not quite accurate." I took a sip of my drink and smiled faintly. The breakup fee was $40 million, not exactly light. That's the only bit of decency she had left. Justin shook his head, letting out an indignant huff. But then he seemed to remember something, his expression turning awkward as he rubbed his nose. "Vincent, sorry, I didn't get your belongings back from Amelia's apartment." I paused, confused. "What do you mean you didn't get them back?" After the breakup, I immediately went back to my hometown in the countryside to handle my grandfather's funeral and only returned to the city yesterday. I had to rely on Justin to help pack my things. After all, I took the breakup fee, so it was only polite to clear out and give her space. Justin rubbed his forehead, a big guy looking genuinely spooked. It was terrifying. "When I went to pack your things yesterday, Amelia wasn't at the office. She was at home. She was just sitting on the sofa, staring at me without saying a single word. It freaked me out. When I finally finished packing and was about to leave with the suitcases, she suddenly said, 'Justin, you have nice hands. How about I chop them off?' Damn, I almost lost it right there." That definitely sounded like something Amelia would say. The Sterling family held absolute power in New York, and if the Sterling princess wanted to chop off someone's hands, it could be done in no time. But this didn't seem like something she would actually do over a few boxes of clothes. We had such a pleasant and dignified breakup. Everything was settled clearly. Why would she mess with my belongings for no reason? Justin looked at me and whispered, "I don't think she actually wants to break up with you." I shook my head. "That's impossible. Everyone in our circle knows about me and Amelia. Years ago, Amelia's first love, Patrick, left her to chase his dreams abroad. Not only did he reject her advances, but he also left the country without saying goodbye. Amelia was devastated for a long time. There wasn't much I could do except stay by her side, silently supporting her. Honestly, I never expected anything in return. But then, on Christmas morning 4 years ago, when I handed Amelia a cup of warm honey water to help her with a hangover as usual, she suddenly looked at me and said, "Vincent, do you like me?" I blushed on the spot, shaking my head as I stammered, Yes. But don't worry, I don't expect anything. Let's be together." 4 words, 4 years. I replaced Patrick, wholeheartedly caring for Amelia. Although she remained cold towards me, she publicly acknowledged that I was her boyfriend. Everyone in the circle said I was the most successful stand-in ever. I thought so too, believing we would spend our lives together. But then, on the day of our 4-year anniversary, Patrick came back, with just one sentence. "Amelia, I miss you." He took Amelia straight to the airport. And that day, I was at home, decorating our place with balloons and flowers, preparing to propose. In the end, I didn't even get to see her face. All I received was a $40 million breakup compensation check. Her first love came back, and she couldn't wait to get rid of me. How could she not want to break up? I shrugged, pretending to be relaxed. All I hope now is that in this big city, I never run into those two again in my life. Justin nodded in agreement. Yeah, everyone in the circle knows about your relationship. Running into them again would be way too awkward. My eyes narrowed. My gaze passed over Justin's shoulder, looking at Amelia, who was walking through the restaurant door. Watching her pause briefly before heading straight toward our table, I couldn't help but sigh. Justin, your mouth really has a way of making things happen. I chose to have my blind date at Justin's restaurant for 3 main reasons. First, it was close to the main branch of my hot pot restaurant. Second, it was near where the lady I was meeting lived. Third, Justin and his wife started from scratch and didn't belong to Amelia's social circle, so I figured the chances of running into anyone we knew here would be slim. Who could have predicted this? Justin gave an awkward smile, his voice lacking confidence. As we spoke, Amelia had already reached the table. She didn't say a word, just raised an eyebrow at Justin, and he quickly abandoned me like a frightened child. This big guy, scared like that, was Amelia really that intimidating? I raised an eyebrow, poured a glass of whiskey, and gave a calm smile to Amelia, who sat across from me. Miss Sterling, care to join me? It had been more than 10 days since we broke up. Seeing her again, I was surprisingly calm. Amelia didn't move, her delicate, bright eyes fixed on me. With such an outstandingly beautiful face, the pressure she exuded was overwhelming, even when she wasn't speaking. This might be what they call the aura of someone born into power. I tightened my grip on the glass, but my smile remained unchanged. After half a minute of silence, Amelia finally smiled, raised an eyebrow, and picked up the glass of whiskey. She held it but didn't drink, her gaze probing. When did you return? Yesterday, I replied with a smile. After all, I have a business to run. Unlike the great Miss Sterling, I can't afford to waste time. Amelia nodded, her expression relaxing slightly. Here to see Justin? I paused, about to respond, when a stunningly beautiful woman with a cold and elegant demeanor, dressed in a white chiffon blouse and a black pencil skirt, stood in front of the table. She glanced at me and Amelia, a flash of hesitation in her bright eyes, her voice gentle as water. Vincent, I answered, it's me. Are you Angelica? Angelica Thorne nodded, then looked at Amelia. Did I come early? Or did you arrange another blind date? As soon as she asked, Amelia's face immediately darkened. You're here for a blind date? Yes, I'm here for a blind date. I smiled slightly. So, shall I see you off, Miss Sterling? Amelia glanced at me, her brow furrowing even more, but she didn't get up. Instead, her gaze shifted to Angelica, her eyes darkening. Miss Sterling, I lowered my tone, issuing a second polite invitation for her to leave. The way she was scrutinizing my guest was quite rude. Why the rush? Amelia raised an eyebrow, staring at me with a dark look in her eyes that I couldn't quite decipher. Suddenly, she smirked and let out a light scoff. After all, we've shared a bed for 4 years. How about I check out your new partner for you? I couldn't help but clench my fists. Amelia, how much more do you intend to hurt me? No need to trouble yourself, Miss Sterling. I smiled, lifting my head to look at Amelia, though my heart felt cold. My grandfather picked this person for me. His judgment won't be wrong. Amelia's eyes narrowed slightly, fixing me with a probing gaze, but she said nothing. The sudden ring of a phone broke the tension. Amelia frowned, took out her phone, and her expression immediately softened. Patrick? The deep, magnetic voice on the other end was clear enough for even me to hear. Amelia, aren't you here yet? Amelia's gaze swept across my face, her eyes darkening. I'm here? Downstairs? Yes, I ran into a friend, exchanged a few words, and now I'm coming up. A friend. just exchanging a few words. I smiled, my fists clenched so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, the pain shooting straight to my heart. Amelia hung up the phone, stood up calmly, and smoothed her dress. Please continue, I won't disturb you. I watched her as she walked upstairs, a dull ache in my chest. Angelica, however, sat down across from me with a serene expression, her delicate features softening into a smile. So, Mr. Reed, is it my turn now? My emotions were instantly pulled back as I looked at Angelica, somewhat surprised. Miss Thorne, you still want to continue? Angelica slightly curled her red lips, her expression extremely natural. Why wouldn't I want to continue? First of all, I have judgment, and I can see what's going on here. I don't think Mr. Reed did anything wrong. Secondly, I have a normal perspective on life, so I don't care if a man has had other women before. Lastly, aside from the blind date, I have another matter I need you to take responsibility for, Mr. Reed. For a moment, I didn't quite register what I had just heard. I looked at her in shock. Responsibility? A wealthy young lady asking me to take responsibility. For what? I swear, I don't even know you. Angelica's lips pressed together, and she suddenly said, I have a dog that eats skewers. My brain felt like it was about to short-circuit. Well, what? Angelica took out her phone and placed it in front of me. I looked down in confusion, and with just one glance, I was dumbfounded. It was surveillance footage from a streetlight's perspective. The timestamp was from the night Amelia and I broke up. The $40 million check was lying on the ground. I was clutching a bottle of wine, sitting on the curb outside my hot pot restaurant, crying like a dog. Next to me was an actual dog, sneaking bites of the skewers I had packed from the restaurant. Little dog, why are you wandering around when you have a collar? Were you abandoned too? Damn it, so was I. These skewers are cold, don't eat them. See that restaurant? I own it. Come here tomorrow at the same time, okay? We'll be brothers in misery, and I'll treat you to good food every day. In the video, the drunk in me was holding the dog's left ear, rambling on and on. Outside the video, I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. The surveillance is clear, and my dog, Max, really came back the next night. He waited outside the hot pot restaurant all night. But Mr. Reed, you didn't show up. After hearing Angelica's words, my expression froze. Because the next day, I received a call about my grandfather's critical condition and rushed back to the countryside. Angelica locked phone screen, looked up at me with a faint gaze, thought for a moment, and added, Since that night, my Max has truly understood the cruelty of the human heart, and he's been depressed at home ever since. I tricked a dog into becoming reclusive. This guilt was too heavy to bear. I'll treat him. I must treat him, I stammered. Let me go buy skewers now and get the best dog food. I'll go apologize to Max. Angelica slightly pursed her lips, then pulled up her WeChat QR code and placed it in front of me. Clearly, my trustworthiness in her eyes wasn't very high. I quickly took out my phone and scanned her contact information. Seeing the cute golden retriever in her profile picture, I covered my face. Miss Thorne, don't worry, I'll take responsibility. Angelica pursed her lips again, not saying anything one way or the other. Let's go. I quickly got up to follow her, but just as I took a step, I heard the sound of high heels clicking from upstairs. Almost instinctively, I looked up at the second-floor staircase. Amelia was standing there, her gaze deep as she looked at me. Behind her stood a few young socialites who had always looked down on me during my 4 years, with Amelia. I was about to leave when a man in a custom-tailored black suit with an elegant demeanor walked down from upstairs. I frowned and looked at Justin, who was standing at the bar, frozen like a statue. Why was Patrick here too? Seeing Patrick, Justin's face changed, and he quickly shook his head at me, mouthing exaggeratedly, I didn't know. Patrick, upon seeing me, perked up. as if completely unaware that Amelia and I had been together for 4 years. He greeted me with great enthusiasm. "Vincent, you're here too? Long time no see." I forced a smile and nodded. "Hope you've been well." Patrick pointed at the group behind him, looking helpless. I just returned to the country, and Amelia and her friends insisted on throwing me a welcome party here. I didn't really want to come. But then, Amelia insisted on opening a hot pot restaurant on this street for me. So I came to check out the new location. After saying that, Patrick turned around and intimately wrapped his arm around Amelia's waist. Then, he looked at me. "I remember you're in the hot pot business too, right? So now we'll be in the same industry. Why don't you come help me check out the place?" He was getting into the hot pot business too. I raised my eyebrows and looked at Amelia. Actually, competition within the same industry is quite normal. If it were someone else, I wouldn't feel any particular way about it. But Patrick's family owned a massive corporate empire worth billions. So why on earth would they need to open a single hot pot restaurant? My family used to be one of the top families in New York's elite circle. But my parents passed away early and unexpectedly. Back then, I was just a clueless kid, and all the family assets were divided among shareholders and greedy relatives. All that was left for me was a nearly bankrupt hot pot chain. Amelia witnessed firsthand how I gritted my teeth and endured countless hardships to finally build this business up. I refused to believe she didn't understand what kind of impact Patrick opening a hot pot restaurant on my street would have on me. As Amelia's gaze swept over me and Angelica, she remained silent for a few seconds before saying blandly, "Don't be petty. Helping Patrick won't do you any harm." Heh, no harm indeed. Patrick discarded a woman, then decided he wanted her back, and I was supposed to hand her over. Now he wanted to encroach on my market share, and I was supposed to smile and help him? Where did he get the nerve? "Vincent, why don't you come along?" Patrick asked sincerely, inviting me once again. I turned my head, sneering, just about to respond. "He's busy. Not available." Angelica, who had been quietly standing by, suddenly spoke up, surprising everyone. All eyes turned to her in astonishment, but her expression remained unchanged. Her delicate brows arched slightly as she smiled at Amelia. "He's coming to my place." Then she tilted her head playfully, looking at me. "Didn't you say you'd take responsibility for me? Let's go, shall we?" Taking responsibility. The way she phrased it was subtle, but brilliant. I cast a grateful glance at Angelica and smiled. "Let's go. Going home with someone you just met. Vincent, do you have no shame?" Amelia's words came almost immediately. Everyone present was taken aback by her remark. I frowned, feeling a surge of anger. "And you, holding on to your current boyfriend while managing your ex? Do you have any shame? Shouldn't she be focused on helping Patrick with his business? Why did she care where I went?" To clarify, Miss Sterling, unexpectedly, Angelica, who had already reached the door, turned back and smiled at Amelia, her eyebrows slightly raised. "Vincent and I didn't just meet. We have quite a history together." Hearing this, Amelia's expression suddenly froze. Angelica turned around, wrapped her arm around mine, and started walking toward the door. The close contact made the soft fragrance on her body linger near my nose. Half of my body felt numb from her touch, and my mind was buzzing. Her words were odd, but honestly, she wasn't wrong. We did have a history, thanks to Max. Max was indeed deeply hurt by me. A young golden retriever lying on the balcony somehow managed to look as if he had aged prematurely. Max, I was really wrong." I knelt on one knee on the floor, holding a bowl of luxury dog food, sincerely apologizing to the dog. Angelica sat quietly on the sofa, watching. I felt like she was laughing at me, but when I looked over at her, her face was completely serious. It wasn't until Max finally allowed me to hold him and play with him that the sky outside turned dark. "I'm hungry." "Can you cook?" Angelica suddenly asked. I was taken aback, then nodded. Yes. Amelia had a picky palate, and there were many things she couldn't eat. So after we got together, I was the one who did most of the cooking. After 4 years, my culinary skills were quite refined. Cook me a meal. Angelica walked over, knelt on the carpet, and started playing with Max, not even giving me a chance to refuse. Since she didn't mind, there was no reason for a grown man to be shy about it. I rolled up my sleeves and headed to the kitchen, preparing 2 dishes. Just as I was about to serve them on the dining table, my phone suddenly rang loudly in my pocket. Startled, I almost dropped the plate. I set it down and answered the call without checking the caller ID. Hello? Your belongings are still at my place. Come get them now. I paused, checking the screen to confirm. Amelia. She was asking me to pick up my stuff at this time of night? It's too late, I said. I'll send someone to get them tomorrow. The other end of the line went silent. I could hear faint, suppressed breaths, and then Amelia's cold voice. It has to be now. I was completely baffled and took a deep breath. Then just throw them away, Miss Sterling. The reason I was intent on retrieving my belongings earlier was that many of the items were gifts from my late grandfather. But if retrieving them meant having any more entanglements with Amelia, I'd rather just let them go. When someone dies, physical items lose their weight. What matters is how you honored them while they were alive. I sighed, ready to hang up the phone, when Angelica, who had just stood up from the carpet, suddenly let out a soft moan. Ow! That hurts! I quickly moved to support her arm. Have you been kneeling too long? Look, your knees are all red. Angelica, clearly playful, replied loudly. How was I supposed to know you'd take this long? Bang! Simultaneously, a loud banging sound came from both the phone speaker and the front door outside the apartment. In shock and confusion, I heard Amelia's cold, teeth-clenching voice through the receiver. Vincent, are you coming out on your own, or should I break down the door and drag you out? I stared at the door in stunned disbelief. Amelia was actually outside Angelica's apartment. On the phone, Amelia's voice remained icy. 3, 2. I clenched my fist, took a deep breath, and suppressed the anger rising in my chest. I'll come out. Amelia, with her spoiled princess syndrome, would absolutely do something as drastic as breaking down a door. But it wasn't me who opened the door. It was Angelica. She stood in front of me, her expression defiant, as she stared down Amelia outside. Does Miss Sterling need something? Amelia's expression was dark, her delicate fists clenched tightly, but she didn't acknowledge Angelica. Instead, her angry eyes focused entirely on me. You have time to spend 5 hours at her place, but no time to pick up your own things? I was at a loss for words. Is there no tomorrow for you, Miss Sterling? Is one night really that critical? Patrick's staying at my place tonight? Amelia replied, her gaze fixed on me as she spoke calmly. I don't want him to feel uncomfortable seeing your things. Also, I don't want you to accuse me of holding on to your belongings later. It's best if you take them yourself, once and for all. The wound in my heart was silently torn open, bleeding profusely. Unconsciously, I tightened my grip on the door handle and gave a cold, bitter smile. Fine. I'll go get them now. This was the first time I sat in Amelia's car without wanting to say a single word to her. Resting my head against the seat, I closed my eyes to relax. Do you like her? Surprisingly, Amelia was the one to break the silence. I frowned and opened my eyes, meeting her gaze in the rearview mirror. After a 3-second pause, I nodded. Yes, she's pretty good. Heh, pretty good. It seems like you've been doing quite well these past few days. I thought maybe you would. Amelia smiled, turned her gaze back to the road, and said nothing more. When we arrived, Justin had already packed all my belongings into 2 large suitcases, sitting next to the dining table in the living room. Amelia sat at the table, calmly sipping water as she watched me, saying nothing. I had no intention of staying any longer, in this familiar yet painful place. I grabbed the suitcase handles and turned to leave. Suddenly, my wrist was grabbed tightly. "Vincent, weren't you madly in love with me before?" Amelia looked up, staring into my eyes with her usual air of superiority. "And now, after just a few days, you've moved on? You can just be so calm and collected being with another woman? Do you even believe that yourself?" In an instant, anger flared up inside me. Amelia's mocking assumption that I couldn't let go of her was far more humiliating than when she handed me the breakup fee. Did she have no idea how much effort and heart I put into her these past 4 years? Just because I loved her. Did that mean I deserved this kind of constant humiliation? I forcefully pulled my hand away, my gaze icy. Does it matter if I've moved on? What matters is that I've been a proper ex and haven't bothered you. But Miss Sterling, what's your deal today? First time I've heard that Miss Sterling keeps her exes on retainer. Could it be that now that it's over, you suddenly realized you can't bear to let me go? Amelia continued to stare at me, a strange emotion flickering in her eyes. After 3 seconds of silence, she suddenly spoke. "What if I say yes?" My spine stiffened, and for a moment, I doubted whether I had heard her correctly. Did Amelia really just say that? Amelia stood up from her chair and wrapped her arms around my waist, resting her cheek against my chest. She sighed. "Vincent, if this is some kind of tactic of yours, then congratulations. You've won. Come back to me. Let's continue together." She stood on her tiptoes, gently kissing my lips. "These days, haven't you missed me? I've been missing you a bit." Amelia's body was soft, and she looked at me with sultry eyes. The atmosphere was highly suggestive. But I couldn't care less about that right now. All I wanted to know was whether Patrick, a living person, was still in the apartment while she said those words. "Wait! What about Patrick?" Amelia narrowed her eyes and spoke with absolute certainty. "I'll find a place for you. He'll never know. I want both of you." A string in my mind snapped abruptly. I forcefully pushed Amelia away, barely stopping myself from slapping her. "Where do you get the audacity to think I'd be willing to be your secret side guy? Do you even see me as a human being?" Amelia didn't move, staring at me with a cold smile. "Vincent, there's a limit to how much you can play hard to get. This is your one chance. If you walk out that door today, don't think about coming back." I glared at Amelia's darkened face, sneering coldly. "Hold on tight to your Patrick and move on. If we meet again in this lifetime, it'll only be at the crematorium." After that day, I never saw Amelia again. After all, she was a high and mighty lady. Rejecting her so harshly, it was a wonder she didn't come after me for payback. Although Amelia didn't show up, Patrick's Hot Pot restaurant did have a grand opening, strategically chosen just 1 street away from mine. To celebrate, they offered a 70% discount for an entire month, burning cash to attract customers. All the hot pot restaurants on the street were struggling to survive. I managed to hang in there since I still had the $40 million to back me up, so the financial losses didn't crush me. But even so, Patrick's restaurant stole 30% of my daily customers. Squatting on the curb outside my restaurant, I stroked Max's head, looking into his big round eyes. "Come on, Max, give me some business analysis. What else can we do to compete besides price and flavor?" "Woof!" Max suddenly perked up, barking twice toward the end of the street. I looked up to see Angelica walking toward me in a beige dress and high heels. Her tall figure paired with her stunning looks made her a walking masterpiece. "Doctor, you're off early today?" I greeted her naturally. Since the blind date, Angelica and I had grown quite close, mainly because her work as a surgeon was unpredictable. So she left Max in my care most of the time. Angelica smiled, pulling a lollipop from her pocket and offering it to me. "Something sweet to lift your spirits." I shook my head. "No thanks, I'm not much of a candy guy." Angelica raised an eyebrow, unwrapped the lollipop, and held it up to my mouth. "When I say eat, you eat, Open up. I froze, feeling oddly flustered. Just as I was about to reach out and take it myself, the leash in my hand was yanked suddenly by Max. Caught off guard, I stumbled forward. Thankfully, Angelica reacted quickly, squatting down to catch me, but I ended up falling right into her arms. My heart rate skyrocketed, and my face flushed red. I quickly stood up, flashing an embarrassed smile. Wow, thanks for saving me, otherwise my face would have been done for. Angelica stood up with me, leaned in close to my ear, and whispered, Mr. Reed, your heart was racing just now. Were you falling for me? Since I saved you, shouldn't you repay me with your affection? Her warm breath against my ear made my thoughts go chaotic. Is she implying what I think she's implying? Is she making the first move? Woof! Woof! Max's barking came just in time to save me from the embarrassment. I saw him baring his teeth at a customer who had just left my restaurant. Max! Stop! I ran over, grabbed his leash, and apologized to the customer. As I looked up, I caught sight of Patrick standing across the street. His expression was grim, as if he had just been in a massive fight. Well, none of my business. That same evening, Angelica, Max, and I ended up trending globally on social media. Earlier in the day, a popular food vlogger with millions of followers happened to be live streaming at my restaurant. They captured the hilarious moment of me asking Max for financial advice, followed by the sweet, romantic interaction between Angelica and me. Hashtags like Dog Boss Analyzes Financials and Brave Doctor and Innocent Restaurateur quickly climbed to the top of the trending list. My phone rang. I answered groggily. Hello? Vincent, who gave you the nerve to actually be with her? Do you want to die? Amelia's furious voice blasted through the speaker. I hung up immediately, rolled over, and went back to sleep. Crazy woman, I muttered before drifting off. The viral explosion of that video was beyond anything I could have imagined. People started flocking to my hot pot restaurant, and it quickly became the trendiest spot in the city. In just a few days, my business surged tenfold, completely wiping out Patrick's aggressive cash-burning tactics. As I was closing the restaurant one evening, Patrick walked in, no longer pretending to be friendly. His eyes were cold and arrogant. Vincent, name your price. I want to buy your restaurant, and I want you to disappear from this city completely. I laughed in disbelief. What kind of nonsense is this? As long as you two stay away from me, we can easily avoid each other. Patrick let out a cold snort. Amelia may be blinded, but I'm not. It's obvious she still has feelings for you. Since I came back, she hasn't let me touch her once. A few days ago, when I tried to kiss her, she instinctively pushed me away and called me Vincent. Do you think I'm going to let you stay here as a threat? I stood there, genuinely shocked by his revelation. And I don't know what's wrong with Angelica's eyes to be dumb enough to fall for a nobody like you. Patrick spat venomously. Not as dirty as your mouth. Angelica's voice echoed from the doorway. She walked over, standing in front of me, shielding me. At least Vincent lives with integrity, loving and hating with all his heart. Unlike some people who have skin as thick as a fortress wall. You gave Amelia up years ago, failed abroad, and now you shamelessly come crawling back. Patrick's face turned pale. Angelica smiled mockingly at him, then turned to me. Don't worry, my family doesn't have mouths as filthy as his. When my family chooses a son-in-law, we look at character. Our dog does too. 2 days later, disaster struck. Over a dozen customers fell ill with severe food poisoning after eating at my restaurant and were hospitalized. Someone anonymously reported severe food safety violations, and at the same time, smear campaigns went viral online, claiming I was a scammer who stole Amelia from Patrick years ago. Fortunately, there was a silver lining. I also got food poisoning because I ate my own restaurant's food every single day. When news broke that the owner himself was hospitalized with the exact same food poisoning, the online mob hesitated. In the hospital, Angelica, wearing her doctor's coat, was treating me. A handsome police officer sitting by my bed, taking my statement, shook his head with a knowing look. Whoever tried to frame you is finished. Angelica's family practically runs the legal and corporate elite in this state. Even if the culprit turned into ashes, she'd dig them up to prosecute them. It turns out she really did. The police dug deep and discovered that Patrick had bribed an employee to poison my food ingredients. Furious because Amelia had rejected him and demanded a breakup the night she came to my apartment drunk. Patrick was arrested, his family empire cut ties with him, and his reputation was completely destroyed. Online, netizens uncovered the full truth, that I had prepared a proposal 4 years ago, only for Amelia to ditch me for Patrick. The public turned on Amelia, flooding her social media with scolding comments. To everyone's shock, Amelia actually replied to one of the comments. "Yes, I deeply regret it. I am trying to make amends and win him back." That night, Amelia walked into my hospital room, dressed beautifully, holding a red velvet box. "Vincent, I know everything now. I know you were going to propose to me that day. I broke up with Patrick. I'm ready to marry you now. Please, let's start over." I looked at her calmly, took the ring box from her hand, and held it. "You missed your chance, Amelia." "No, you loved me for 4 years." Tears welled in her eyes. "We haven't missed our chance. If you come back, we can start over." I looked out the hospital window and saw Angelica walking Max in the courtyard below. I turned back to Amelia, smiled, and casually tossed the velvet ring box out the window, watching it fall into the muddy garden below. "All right. If you can find that ring in the mud, I'll start over with you." Amelia's eyes filled with desperate hope, and she rushed downstairs. On the day I was discharged, Angelica and Max came to pick me up. From my window, I could see Amelia still down in the garden, covered in dirt, frantically digging through the mud after days of searching. Angelica stood beside me, watching her tone slightly sour. "If she actually finds it, are you really going to get back together with her?" I couldn't help but laugh, reaching into my pocket and pulling out a platinum men's ring glinting in the sunlight. "Only if she actually finds it." I threw an empty box out the window. She needed to experience the feeling of working so hard, reaching for hope, only to be plunged into total despair, just like I felt 4 years ago. Angelica looked at the ring in my hand, then looked at me, a brilliant, playful smile breaking across her face. "Mr. Reed, you're quite ruthless, but I like it. By the way, about our blind date, do you want to take it further?" I crouched down, patted Max's fluffy head, and laughed. "Max, what do you think?" "Woof!"